So the main kind of way that I studied for this unit was by doing past problems, whether it be tutorial problems or exam problems. And to get a deeper understanding, I would consult the textbook and rewatch lectures, because lectures can be, and the textbook can be quite in depth. So for a deeper understanding, I found it very beneficial to go through those sort of resources.
I definitely bugged the tutors. Like I was just like they start walking away. I'm like, no, I still didn't get it. Come back. Like I need you to help me. So yeah, so that did help. I think I was probably the most annoying one in class, but it was all right. I passed.
So I find it beneficial to break down the question into individual steps. So you see a problem and realise, oh, I have to apply this equation or this formula, and then I need to derive this other one. So
just make sure you understand what you're doing, not just how you're doing it. So make sure that you understand the concepts surrounding the equation you're solving, and you know that you actually, if someone asks you about it, you wouldn't just give them numbers, you'd give them words. So you actually being able to explain what you're doing.
So it's quite easy when you're doing an engineering degree to see physics, a lot of the concepts in it to be quite irrelevant, but it's not so much the concepts that are helpful, even though a lot of them are quite relevant. It's more the problem solving skills that you get when you do this unit. So questions can be quite complicated, and the more that you do them, the more you realise these are how you solve these sort of problems.
Watching the lecture itself and actually having the vocal prompts help remember a lot of things too, because there's little sentences you just have in the back of your mind that would help out. And the worked examples in the lectures and stuff are a lot more beneficial than just the solutions, like actually going through the problem and how to solve it instead of just it being solved. Yeah.
So I think to pass the unit and to do well in the unit, you really have to utilise the time spent with tutors and lecturers. So especially during tutorials, to really talk to your tutors and understand the problems. It can be quite hard to understand problems just looking at worked examples and textbooks, so having someone explaining to you is really, really beneficial. So especially the lecturers are all very friendly, so go and see them during their consultation hours and they'll definitely help you out. I found that very helpful. I found during the lectures I was specifically writing down the worked examples and more just listening to all the theoretical components so I could try and better understand them. I
guess you get stuck on a question, you'd ask the tutor over, they'd explain it to you. You might not get it the first time, so I was probably really annoying. I'd be like, I still don't get it, explain it another way. And so it was sort of just about making sure I did understand it before like wrapping up the help kind of thing.
So I would try and tackle the problem using my own resources, and then if that didn't work, consulting fellow peers was very helpful.
If I wasn't immediately able to solve it, like if I looked at it and got a bit confused, it was like, okay, I'll try and associate this with a similar situation that I'd seen in lectures or something. And then if that didn't work, I just went to the online forum and you had your other classmates and stuff who were discussing, well, this is how I did it, this is how I approached it and stuff. So
the quizzes sort of forced you to study, which is good, because sometimes you can lack the motivation to study, but if you know that it's an assessment component, then you're quite motivated to study, and I found them really beneficial.
So I found that, okay, so for this week we go tutorial, so I have to do the pre-tut to prepare for the quiz. So it kind of gave it a bit more structure than just taking notes and going to tutorials, yeah.
So Echo 360 was good because sometimes the lectures can feel a bit rushed and constrained for time. So I found it good to just pause and rewind the lecture to try and really understand these concepts.
Yeah, the numeracy centre was really helpful, I found, just because like most of the time you would sit there and just try and solve your problems, but it was nice to have someone that was just walking around able to help you out as soon as you needed it kind of thing. So it wasn't like, I don't know what to do, I'll post on the forum and wait for a reply. It was like it's straight away, someone could help you solve it. And I always found they were pretty helpful, like in explaining the concepts as well as the method.
I found that tutorials was probably the most beneficial thing in this unit in learning how to do all of these assigned problems. So it's quite easy for a lot of students to leave the tutorials early and not take full advantage of them, but you have the opportunity to talk to tutors about any problems that you're having. So go into the tutorial with some questions in mind and get the tutors to help you out there.
A lot of people would be like, oh, I'm not going to the quiz, it's only worth 1%, you know, so I'll just lose that 1%. But it's sort of, instead of looking at it as oh, I'm not sacrificing my marks, look at it as this is a learning opportunity so that I won't have to cram before the final exam. Because I actually didn't have to study too hard for the final exam. I did a couple of past papers, but because I consistently tried to keep up and make sure I understood along the way, it wasn't this big stressful event at the end of the semester.
Yeah, my number one tip for this unit is to just annoy the staff as much as you can, ask for their help as much as you can. So with James, I would come into his office quite often with some questions that I wasn't quite sure about, and he would help me understand them. So particularly leading up to the exam, I did as many past papers as possible, and concepts that I didn't really understand, James helped me to sort of sort them out and figure them out.
My endeavour to understand the course I went through came from my passion to actually learn about physics, because I did have an interest of physics before obviously starting university, which is why I picked physics for my science major. So actually wanting to be knowledgeable and well versed about physics made me, actually try and learn it, not just pass it.
I find it pretty helpful though, like struggling with a problem, because you research the topic quite in depth and then it helps you to understand it. So the more difficult a problem is, even though it might seem annoying and frustrating, it's beneficial to your study.
I would study by myself, but in the tutorials I did sort of talk to your neighbour and just be like, hey, I'm a bit stuck on this, what do you think? So it was more, I'd try and tackle it individually at first, and then once I got a bit lost is when I'd seek help from other people and get other opinions and stuff. So yeah, not so much group study. I'd try and get the fundamentals and concepts down myself, and then the actual problem solving is where I would seek help from other people, yeah.
So I found studying by myself, I was able to really tackle the problems and identify what components I was strong in and what components I was weaker in. So those components that I was weaker in, I would consult all my fellow classmates, and then they would help me understand it. And we would just be able to bounce ideas off each other, and it was beneficial.
Okay, are you still filming? Or?
I am, yes.
Okay.